Mm-hmm.
Okay. There we go. Okay. Problem was there. Give me a little bit of audio, please. What?
From the farm?
Yes,
Oh, that's cool.
Sheesh. Okay. We'll have to play with the mixing a little bit. What's up?
I guess we can talk about it on the podcast. It's not really a game thing, but Galen Sussman, who most people have probably heard the story, back when Pixar was making Toy Story 2, and they accidentally deleted the whole fucking movie.
Oh.
And somebody had the movie at their computer at home, or on their computer at home. Well, that lady that saved the movie was Galen Sussman. Guess who just got laid off in the recent round at Pixar?
The savior. The savior of Toy Story.
Yeah, the recent Disney layoffs. Fucking, she was let go.
Wow.
Who literally saved fucking Toy Story. Imagine having to start that bitch over.
That'd be so bad.
They're like, yeah, that was back then. This is now. And right now, you need to get the fuck out of here.
Ethereal Phoenix rolling up in here, and she's here to celebrate some queer. Happy Pride Month, by the way.
If you're mean to me, it's considered a hate crime. What if I'm mean to you because I hate you? Wait, is that a hate crime?
then it actually works.
Yeah, she worked on Lightyear, Toy Story 4, Toy Story 2, Up, The Legend of Mordu. What the fuck is that?
Never heard of it.
Yeah, me either, but apparently she worked on it. The Witch from Pixar's Brave. Oh, it's a Pixar's Brave short.
No.
And most recently, she worked on the Lightyear movie. I still haven't seen that.
I haven't watched that yet either.
Yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't call to me.
20 seconds.
Bing, bing, bing.
Have you hit the record button yet?
The fuck episode is this?
104.
You sure?
Well, our last episode was 103.
No. What the fuck? There we go.
Oh no, shit! Fuck, damn it! Hang on, we're gonna kick over here. We're gonna take a start.
It's 103.
We're good. Just a small problem. God damn it!
What? You just have to push. You just hide people that don't have a camera.
That's right. I know. I had got to just get on that. I thought I had that set. There we go. I mean, it's not that I'm not interested in seeing Lightyear. It's just, it's not. I'm just not interested. I guess I don't know. It just doesn't do it for me.
I don't care about. I care about Buzz. I don't care about the fucking story that he came from.
It was kind of like one of those like.
It feels like a spinoff. Which is exactly what it is. Like, I don't care. Why am I supposed to care?
Yeah.
And no advertising or no anything has made me interested.
You know, I did watch a movie a couple of nights ago. Heather and I watched a movie. It's called Jupiter Ascending. It's an older movie, I think. It had
Oh yeah, don't watch that.
No, actually, number one.
No.
Yes, and let me tell you why.
No.
Let me tell you why.
Number one, it's too long, even though it's not even that long compared to today's movie standards. But when it came out, it felt really long.
Well, honestly, because Heather and I were watching it, and everybody's like, "Oh, it's such a bad movie, you shouldn't see it." So Heather and I love to watch bad movies together. That's just kind of just something that we do.
It is a bad movie. The art style and the fucking cinematography and like
Well, but
the acting, everything that's besides the story writing, it was great.
it
The
was
CGI is fucking fantastic.
yeah. Well, I was gonna say, the reason why I enjoyed it was because it was an original story. It wasn't a rehash. It wasn't a remake. It wasn't a sequel or a prequel or a origin story or a live action of a cartoon. None of that. It's actually
Yeah.
I mean, it had some. It had some like genre tropes and stuff like that. Kind of like a Cinderella type story or something along those lines. But it was an original story. Like I thought it was a good story. Yeah, I get it. The acting was I mean, I'm not watching Mila Kunis for her acting,
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like, so it wasn't. I liked it. I had fun. I walked away from that movie entertained.
And didn't feel like you wasted your time. What's funny is right along that same, I think it released around the same time too. No, I think maybe it was after Valerian and a City of a Thousand Planets. I thought that movie was really good, way better than Jupiter Ascending. But on IMDb, it's got a lower rating. So I don't know. Who knows?
Well, honestly, I think the rating is carried because of Mila Kunis. And I mean, you can
Probably.
you can
and
argue
Channing Tatum.
Yeah, you can argue
and Sean
Channing Tatum.
Bean
Yeah.
and yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it could be a good point. All right, well,
here's all jacked up.
welcome to Pig's Pod, politically, what a weird word, politically incorrect gaming podcast, episode 104, I think,
You know what? The hair is just it's just gonna exist.
something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been gone for a minute. Somehow Pig's Pod returned. Rabble's back.
Yeah. So the hiatus was. I mean, the hiatus was my fault, but it wasn't technically my fault. Back in the middle of April, my dad suffered a stroke. He's okay, and he's probably going to make a full recovery and all that. But it's been a lot of, looking after him, hanging out with him, keeping him company. He lives by himself, so there. When he first got out of the hospital, we were down there all the time. Just are you sure you're going to be able to be by yourself? That type of thing.
Yeah.
And now it's become like doctor's appointments and physical therapy and all that. So, but he's doing really good. He's gonna make a at least mostly complete recovery.
Most recovery?
Yeah, he lost a lot of his peripheral vision right when it happened and all of that, and most of that's come back. But he says in the bottom of his right eye, he says there's like a dead spot. It's like it's just black. There's nothing there, and he's like, we haven't got to see the eye doctor yet because that's on the to-do list. But he's like, I don't know if that's a cataract or something stroke related. He's like, I didn't notice it before the stroke, but it was like, doesn't mean that it wasn't there and he just didn't see it, pun intended. But other than that, like I said, he's doing really good. I think he's going to be okay long term. He had some other physical issues, but all that's resolved. But then on top of that, this is where it gets stupid. A week or 2 weeks. Let's see. I'm coming up on week 4. So 4 weeks ago tomorrow, I was outside on my porch watching for Isabel to get off the bus, and I wasn't wearing any shoes and I wasn't paying attention. And we have hardwood floors in our house. And when I walked back in the house, I put like 2 steps into the landing as I come in, and I lost my footing. I did the whole like cartoon Running Man trying to keep my balance, and I fell.
Yeah,
I fell and fractured my wrist, broke my wrist. So I was. It's been like a shitty month, shitty 2 months, So I'm just done. So I was just like, I think we talked last week. I was like, we have to get back to doing shows. Like I have to have some sense of normalcy. This shit's driving me
What
crazy.
what is Rabble supposed to do without us?
Oh, I know.
He's feeling lost.
Uh, speaking of that, shout out to, um, oh, what was his name? Was it Dominic? Yeah, Dominic Jordan. Shout out to you, Jordan. You sent me a message a little while ago and the last few days and was checking up on me, and I really, really appreciate the messages. But yeah, I mean, I fell, and as soon as I landed, I was like, ooh, maybe I just sprained it. I think I'm okay. And I went and sat on the bed, and I sat there, and I could feel my arm starting to swell. And Heather's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I think I sprained it. I think I sprained it." And then like 2 minutes later, I'm like, "No, I think I may have broke it. Let's go to the hospital." And so I went in, and they did a bunch of X-rays and whatnot. And they're like, "Oh yeah, you fractured your wrist, and you have some soft tissue damage and all that."
You're old now.
Oh my god!
You got to be careful.
I just, man, I couldn't believe it. It was just, it was not only did it suck, but it was like, it was embarrassing because I mean, I landed right on my ass, right on my arm, right in front of Heather, right in front of Izzy. And
Didn't even get it on video.
oh no!
Don't even have a TikTok to show
thank
for
God. I don't need to relive that. That hurt.
it. Did you flash back to being a kid when your mom told you finish your milk and you're like, no, I don't need it.
Yeah.
And now your bones are brittle and you're old.
Yep, I was one. If I had just eaten that one Flintstone vitamin, that one more vitamin, I'd have been fine. But
You would have been okay. But
happens to the best of us.
Nope.
But how about you? I haven't talked to you in a while. How you been?
Just busy doing everything.
Everything.
Time's been like flying by. Yeah, I just going extra hard in the paint. Being super busy coding and learning a bunch of different stuff, and like I haven't even had time to play video games. Time just flies by. Like literally, like I'll go to make like a piece of toast or something. Like, where's the butter? I swear I just bought butter. It's like, no, that was like a month ago. It's like, was it? It feels like
Yeah.
it was just barely. What do you mean? And like, we're already freaking in June. It feels like it was just barely March. Like,
Yeah, it's been kind of wild how quickly this part of the year has gone by. Especially with everything that's happened with me, and I now run the business full time now, our business. So that's been a whole nother problem too. Is I'm now having to learn all the sides of QuickBooks, and I hate it. And it's not that I don't hate it. It's just it causes an undue amount of stress.
oh yeah,
Because my concern is, and I still don't think I have it worked out. I've got to call QuickBooks and get it worked out. But my biggest concern is always making sure that the guy's taxes are paid. Like that's my number one thing. Because like when you get your paycheck and you look at it and you're like, who the fuck is FICA? Well, it's your employer's responsibility for meeting those FICA obligations. And
you got to pay the man, or the man will come a knocking.
yeah, and that's the problem. Is I think I've made a couple of mistakes, and I'm having to work to fix that. And Dad is a typical boomer and he doesn't want like nothing connected to his bank account. So so our QuickBooks isn't connected or wasn't connected at the time. And he's like, "Oh, the hackers are going to get our stuff." And I'm like, "Dude, if they're coming after us, I mean, they're desperate."
If they want it, they could get it already.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter. They don't go, oh man, it's not connected to QuickBooks. Dang it!
Exactly.
Not gonna get it.
Yep. So I've been in the process of merging our bank account with our QuickBooks account, and so I can move money around and all of that. And I've got everything set up to where on the administrative side of the business, I can work from home whenever I need to, so I don't have to worry about,
It's when you break something else.
Yeah, so
You slip and fall.
Yeah, so I'm so fucking high on pain meds and I can't drive. Which I
All
was.
the guys are gonna be like, the boss fell down again.
Yeah,
It's just us today.
The one boss had a stroke, the other one broke his arm. I mean, it's just been.
We're gonna have to get you those old people pants, the ones that have a built-in like airbag in the pants.
I thought you were talking going to say the ones with the suspenders, because I've been thinking about those here lately.
We might need to get you those too.
Yeah.
Maybe we can put suspenders on the airbag pants, but no, they detect when you tilt, when you like lean over and fall down, and they like poof up like an airbag.
That's not a bad idea. Maybe
Yeah, it's like
maybe
how
I
your car
should.
works, except instead of like impact detection, it's just like leaning too much detection. They go, oh no, the old guy's falling.
Yeah,
Protect his hip.
yeah, probably. Yeah, it probably should. But I actually have been playing a little bit of gaming, and it's the only thing I'm playing right now is when I can't sleep at night because my sleep schedule's all fucked up.
Yeah.
It's been so bad the last like 5 or 6 days. But I've been playing that Battleship, World of Warship Legends. I'm back to playing that again, and
Well, the Warship Legends.
yeah,
Is that the one
yeah, it's the
with
one.
the ships and the legends?
Yeah, that. But yeah, it's all like World War I, World War II, naval
Oh, you're
battles.
like you've gone full old guy. You started watching westerns. You're playing.
Yeah. It's actually I've had a lot of fun playing it because it's kind of you have that like there's a couple of games that it doesn't require you to think a lot. It's kind of like the same motions. You're just kind of playing it to just kind of pass the time.
Yeah,
Um,
filling your time,
yeah,
zoning out a little bit.
that's kind of the way this one is. Although I've it's got a versus AI mode, which is like I want to say it's 9v9, and there's 9 real players versus 9 AI players, or you can
Oh,
go into
I thought
um
it'd be 1 and 8 versus 9. Like
yeah.
one person, and then you have 8 AI on your team
Oh yeah.
versus 9 full AI on the other team.
No, it's actually not. It's not like that. And then, well, you have the 9 real versus 9 AI, and then there's another game mode that is just straight like 9v9. Real human versus human, whatever you want to call it, player versus player, PvP, I guess. I've been playing a lot of that, and it's kind of fun. I mean, it is fun. I do enjoy it, and um, it's got they do like they have their own versions of seasons and stuff like that where they have various special game modes and stuff that they do. And like right now it is the seasonal is the I guess it's really they're doing it this weekend. It's 3v3, and it's all battleships, and
Oh,
you have to have a pre-made team, which is what makes it kind of tough. Like you can't it doesn't match make you for that one. And
oh.
so
3v3 of the Third Reich.
yeah, actually, yeah. That's most of the ships that I have are German and
I knew it.
yeah, German and Soviet Union. So I figure I would just cover all the axes. Um, but it's fun. I mean, that's kind of it. I tried playing some other games through like the Game Pass, the cloud gaming stuff,
Yeah.
and I think that's probably
Yeah.
one of the really like one of the best things about Xbox and their Game Pass is the cloud gaming service
Oh
because
yeah. You
I've
don't have to download 100 gig fucking game.
just to find out you fucking hate it. You
Yeah.
know, like that's because I've done that so many times. Be like, oh, this looks like fun, and then I spend like 2 hours, or I download it overnight or whatever, and sit down to play it, and it's just like
It's
this game's
stupid.
stupid.
Yeah. I was thinking the other day how many stupid games are coming out. And like it's weird. We've hit a time where um I, I want to talk about AI too, but along the same lines. But we've hit a time where it's so easy to make games. Like you can make games by yourself now.
Oh yeah,
The Stardew Valley, which is fucking massively successful, was made by one guy. Like you can do it by yourself now. But because of that, now there and it's such a huge industry, over $200 billion a year. It's just there's a huge influx of fucking garbage, just absolute awful shit everywhere.
yeah,
It's a little harder for people to publish stuff to like PlayStation and Xbox, but especially Xbox, they've been making it a lot easier to become a partner and publish stuff on their site. Yeah, on PC it's fucking god awful. You're looking at 47,000 awful games to one half decent game.
yeah.
Like it's a real bad time. It's not the same as like back in the day, where by the time you finally got a game released that they'd been working on for 4 or 5 years, and then it's a fucking banger. And like there's just like back in the day, it was harder to find a bad game. Like it was just good game after good game after good game, and then at one game where you're like, it's not that great, and then just banger banger like. And now we're going the opposite. We're just getting a bunch of really bad game. Like, and I was thinking, I was like, man, I wonder. And maybe it's partially because I'm so busy. I don't have the time to set aside, and every time I've tried to set aside and play a game, I just don't enjoy it. So I
Yeah.
just go back to just doing work and stuff. But like, it's been so long since I've enjoyed just playing a game. Before you got on here a minute ago, while I was waiting for you, I was watching Apex. And I was like, man, it looks fun, but I know it's not going to be fun to play it. Like if I log in.
Yeah, no, I'm done. I'm done with Apex. It's just not as fun as it used to be, and and the other thing too is it's now been out. It's the same problem that Titanfall 2 had up until it got fucked
Yeah.
up. Is the game had been out for so long, like the majority of casuals had already moved on, and
Yeah.
all that's left are the diehard sweaties.
Oh yeah. Well, it
And
came out 4.5 years ago. It
yeah,
doesn't feel like it,
yeah,
but it's been out for a long fucking time.
yeah, exactly. So now that it's been out that long, um, all the
Yeah,
like
it's just fucking the absolute masters that never stopped
yeah,
playing. They missed like one season, and they're like, "Yeah, I didn't play season 5, but ever since, it's just been really good every season." And you're like, "Shut the fuck up! This game sucks," and you're making it worse. Where I can't even. I
yep,
log on and have 13 fucking teams push me because I accidentally hit my trigger and fired a shot, and the whole lobby's like, "Over there!" And they just all fucking run over there. And there's 8 legends
yeah,
that there's Pathfinder that zips across, there's fucking Octane that jumps across, and his whole team comes with them. There's fucking Maggie with her speed boot. Like they were like, we need to make people go faster across this fucking already not that big map. Like
yeah.
it's just
We need to make this
but
game even faster than it already plays.
it does make me excited for Titanfall because if it's as smooth and nice as Apex is, Apex is just like I don't know. We've hit a weird spot where battle royales used to be really fun because
Hmm.
nobody was that familiar with them. Everything was new. Every new idea that came around was like, oh, that's unique. And then a bunch of people would try it. But now that it's kind of, set in stone as an actual genre and an actual game type, and everyone's doing it, now you get the exact same type of players on every single one.
Yeah, right.
Like, it's just not fun. Like, the same with, like, I guess we'll talk about it this week, but when we were creating our characters for this next D&D thing,
Mm-hmm.
uh, it was making me think about vampires, and I was like, man, I really want to go back and play Blood Hunt. Blood Hunt is so fucking good. Blood Hunt's a BR, but you're all vampires, but like various types of vampires with
Really?
various types of like powers and stuff. I think it's only on PC, so I don't think you could even play it if you wanted to.
Yeah, that's just, I
It's
was
it's it,
pulling up and
it's
looking.
fucking it's sick though. It's so fun. Like it's in the out of like I was just saying how battle royales just aren't that fun anymore. Blood Hunt is the one that kind of stands out as it was really fun, but then it kind of met the same fate where like all the new players kind of gave up on it, and only the super sweaties like they know every single fucking tucked in corner here and there. Like I don't know. It was really cool though because you could like design your own vampire and like you had different powers. There was one that went invisible. There was one that could teleport. That's the one I normally played as, the teleport. But like uh sort of like level up. What you had to do is drink blood from people.
Oh my god.
But if other people in the street saw you, you would be marked. And so for 2 minutes, you would be marked for everyone on the entire map as, hey, there's a vampire there.
Oh, this is a Vampire the Masquerade. You know, there's D&D for that, or there's a RPG game for that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I think there's also a few games on Xbox that not of this the battle royale version of it,
Right.
but yeah, yeah the Masquerade. I forget what the game's called. Yeah, no, it was super fun, but I just the same thing as Apex. I know if I get on, it'll be nothing but sweats, and I'll be fucking. It won't be fun.
That's,
unfortunately.
it's available on PlayStation 5, GeForce Now. What the fuck is that? And
I don't know.
Microsoft Windows. Well, now we
Yeah,
have to Google what
I don't.
GeForce is. Oh, it's the
I have no idea.
Nvidia. It's the Nvidia's cloud gaming thing.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that's what that is.
So PC, same thing. It's
Got it.
just a
Yeah.
different. You just push download it on a different
Yeah.
launcher.
Pretty much.
It was super fun though, because like you could play down on the ground where all the humans are, or you could just live on the rooftops. You just always live on the rooftops and just jump from rooftop to rooftop. Like it was cool as fuck. Like it was really fun, but same fate as all the other battle royales. It's just I don't know. I think they need to figure out they have to go back and reinvent the wheel. Maybe they need to reach back out to Brendan Green, uh, one of the original inventors of. It was a concept before, but nobody had ever made it a game until he did with H1Z1. I think they need to hit the drawing board again and figure out uh, a good balance of how to throw PVE stuff in there and AI and one thing I miss about Scavengers, which is unfortunately been shut down. Man, it's funny at work. Like a month ago, we got a new guy, uh, and we were talking, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm a gamer." I'm like, "Oh, did you ever play Scavengers, dude? The best battle royale that ever hit the market." And the reason it was the best battle royale is because if you wanted to, you can go from the start to the end of the match and not have to even fight other players. It was so unique, and it was made by fuck, I can see his fucking profile picture in my head, but I can't remember his name. He was the multiplayer designer for Halo for several years. He worked on Halo 5 a little bit, and then he left, made his own studio, took a bunch of people from Call of Duty and Treyarch and a bunch of people, and they made Scavengers. But yeah, it was a battle royale, which had so much variety. You could play PvE or PvP or like whatever. But unfortunately, they kind of ruined the game because a bunch of sweaties were like, "Hey, like, I want this to be like every other battle royale." So at first, it was fucking great, but then they kept tuning it, and by the end of it, it was just like every other battle royale, where like there was no escaping players anymore. They put too many vehicles in it, so you'd have a sweaty team hop into a lobby, just getting in the vehicles and just chasing fucking everybody down on the whole lobby. Like, so even if you were trying to be one of those passive players where you're like, no, leave me alone. I just want to fight the bosses and get my points and fly off the planet. I don't even want to face other players.
Yeah.
They wouldn't let you. Like, so unfortunately that killed the game, and they had such a low player count they had to shut down the servers.
Did you see
But
that Spellbreak is done? Like
yeah, Spellbreak is done.
Yeah. I
Which
really
is
like that
weird
one.
because right before they shut it down, they were bought out by. Who did they get bought out by? Let me look.
I wonder if they got bought out just to take the employees and the assets and push it towards something
Oh,
else.
Blizzard.
Yeah, that's
Blizzard
right.
bought 'em.
Yep, you're right. That was a shame. I really liked that one. That one was
Yeah, Spellbreak was really fun, and then it kind of met the same fate as the rest of them. People figured out how to play it. They figured out how to get sweaty, and then they just started fucking holding that front arrow key and just running right at you.
well. And I think the other issue that those games have is it's like the snowball effect, because you do have the casuals that just leave because they're finding other games, moving on to other things, and then
Yeah,
which brings in, which like concentrates the sweaties, and then the sweaties are also running off the casuals, which concentrates the sweaties even more. When we first started playing, there was it was a 60 people in the map, and
yeah, and then it was like 20. And
yeah.
yeah,
Well, it was like, so when there's 60 people in the map in the early days, there might have been 10 sweaties. And now
Yeah.
it's 52 of them are sweaties, and you're like, fuck.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing is, like, a few, not all of them, a few of the streamers and a few of the pros have told every single one of these companies, every time a battle royale comes out, they say, it's a battle royale, don't put fucking matchmaking in it. You'll ruin your own game.
Mm-hmm.
And they never listen. They go, no, it's about player experience. We need matchmaking. All that does is every single game, all you face is sweats, because all you're facing is people at your level.
Yeah.
Whether it's you hopping in, me hopping in, whether it's fucking Ninja, whether it's fucking,
Yeah.
Dr. Disrespect, whether it's Shroud, somebody that, streams and games for 22 hours of a 24-hour day, every single one of us is having the exact same experience of not having fun. Like,
When
and they can't wrap it around their head. They go, no, we don't want bad player experience. We don't want you that only plays 1 hour a month to hop on and accidentally run into fucking snipe down and get fucking wrecked. Why not? I'd rather it be random than every single fucking match I play is a sweat fest.
when the skill based matchmaking argument first started, I was very pro skill based matchmaking, because at first
Yeah.
I was like, well, you're right. Yeah, I don't want to run into Snipe Down. I don't want to run into Ninja. I don't want to run into Oreo version 2, version 3. I don't want to
Yeah.
run. I don't want to run into these people. I do. I would like to just play people on my level, and then it just clicked because there was a TikTok I watched that was describing it. And he was like, yeah, you're right. You don't want to run into these types of players all the time. But isn't it cool sometimes when you run into that really bad team and you just roll over them, and you just feel
Yeah,
you feel like
that's
a
the whole
god?
point.
He's like, that's what you lose in skill based matchmaking. And I was like, well,
Yeah.
I didn't really think of it that way. And it does not have.
It's completely different battle royale versus an arena shooter. Okay, if I'm on Halo, an arena shooter, where I hop in, it's one round, it's the first team to get to 50. Then I want skill based matchmaking. I don't.
Yeah.
Well, and then again, you have the same thing. If I'm going into social, I want it random again.
Yes.
I want to sometimes get rolled, and then the very next game, I fucking absolutely steamroll a team, and it's 5-50, and we're like, yeah, fucking teabagging the shit out of 'em. But then the next match, oh fuck,
Oh yeah.
Snipe Down's in here.
Like,
But
well, rip.
they don't listen. We've told fucking the Call of Duty developers, we've told 343, like, have matchmaking. Have when I go into ranked, then it should be ranked. If I go into social, then it should be social. You
Yeah.
can't have a hidden in the background fucking, because you have the same thing. See, battle royale across the board. Battle royale should have the same thing. It should have ranked and unranked. If you go into ranked, then it should be ranked.
Yeah.
I'm a level 50, you're a level 50, we're in the same lobby. I'm
Right.
a level 3, you're a level 3, we're in the
Well-
same lobby. If it's if it's social, it should be fucking random across the board, whether it's arena shooter, a fighting game, a racing game, a fucking battle royale, no matter what it is, if it's a social playlist. But they're so fucking that's the other part of it. Like, as more and more money comes in and more investors, and fucking you have 8 different people that are different parent companies all having to get along, and I'm the publisher and I'm the developer and I have stock in it, and everyone gets so fucking worried that they're like, no, it has to be family friendly, it has to be fun for everyone. So we have to have matchmaking. We can't have somebody go on and get rolled. But they're like, they're not smart enough to figure out, other than Rogue Company, they're not smart enough to figure out in social it should be fucking random. Sometimes you get rolled, but sometimes you'll roll.
Yeah.
It's not every single game a fucking sweat fest. I mean, yeah, we talk about sweaties, but really when you're at your level, every game feels like it's sweaty.
Well, yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
it's evenly matched.
You're evenly matched, and it becomes it becomes a matter of who sees who first.
Yeah.
Who can land the 3 headshots before the 3 headshots and a body shot. Those types of things. Like it is every single one is sweaty, but
Yeah. I have to find, man, I saw it on TikTok. It was a developer stream, and I have to look up and find who the developer was. But one of the developers came on. I don't even remember what the game was for. I'm sorry. I'll look it up. I'll see if I can find it. Or maybe we'll talk about it next week, because I can only remember some of how he said it. But basically, he was talking about when we're making our game, and when we're making all games, we're looking at a net, at the end of the day, having a net fun. Okay, so when you win a match, that's pretty fun. When you lose a match, that's not so fun. And when it's just evenly ranked, and you go from winning a match to losing a match, winning a match, losing a match, you are base level having no fun. That's not fun.
Is your camera having a stroke?
I don't know why it fucking. I need to turn off auto
Because I mean,
focus.
yeah, because it's got this. Oons, 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 oons.
Yeah, I'll turn off autofocus. It should be okay. There you go.
Well, so that comes back to this. What I've said for years and years is the greatest separation of players with good player experience was Halo 3. You had
Yeah.
a social.
I didn't even see her. So sneaky.
You had a social playlist, and then you had the ranked playlist. And you knew if you were going to go into the ranked playlist, you were going to get spanked. At least that's the way I felt about it, because I never. All of my friends at the time were all casual players, so we only got together on Friday nights, Saturday nights. So we were never going to play ranked playlist. So you go in and you play in social, and you hardly ever ran into those types of players. You might. Oh, that's right. The stickers work. I'm like, what the fuck? You would come across players that you might have games where you lose, 40-20. You're kind of in the game, but you kind of weren't. So that's
Well, the greatest part about Halo 3 as well is they allowed you to pick connection based or rank based. You
right.
could go into when you were doing ranking or matching, and you could say, would you rather this be connection based? And or would you rather this be rank based? And it would have like a warning, oh, this matchmaking might take longer, but we're going to try and get you what you want.
Right.
And it's so funny every time we bring that up, or like with 343 especially, other developers I never hear make all these excuses. 343, so many fucking excuses. Well, fucking player population. And like, how many times have we talked about this? If it's when the game launches, you won't have a problem with player population. If you're going to try and wait for a 6-month update, then yes, you're going to have a problem with fucking player population and all those playlists and all these settings and different things.
Right.
If you just launch it, that's just how it is from the get-go. Player population is not a thing. It doesn't matter. Everyone will be playing day one, and if you have all these options and all these playlists and big team, ranked and social, and objective ranked and social, and fucking flag ranked and social, and shotgun sniper ranked and social, you can have as many as you fucking want day one.
Right.
They'll stay populated, and then you basically let your community pick. Okay, if nobody's going in the shotgun snipers playlist, and for 2 weeks straight it has 1,000 people in the playlist, all right, now let's drop it.
Right.
Trying to add them in later, like, I feel like we've talked about this 1,000 fucking times.
That's what we do here. 104 episodes, and we talk about the same shit. Well, I mean, once again, you have to create a game that people want to play. You have to keep your players engaged. You have to keep them, wanting to consume your content, and that's what killed Halo. Is that there was no engagement. You had no.
Well, no communication.
Right.
Like,
Well, and then you would have 10 years.
If you could be like Fortnite and have a new fucking map or a new event every fucking week, yes, you'll have a player, sure. But not everyone can do that. Not everyone has 800 fucking developers working for them because they make $1 billion a month. Not everyone can be Fortnite. But if you just communicate with your players, wow, what a fucking world of difference.
Well, I guess what kills me is, and who was talking? I was talking to somebody about it, and I said that Fortnite is the greatest game ever made. And they're like, oh,
whether you like it or not.
I don't like it. I have no desire to play it. I played it a couple of times, like, not for me. But when you have a game that, how long has Fortnite been out? It's got to be 6-7 years now, 8 years.
It depends if you count when the BR came out or the original game came out.
I want to say the BR game because nobody remembers anything before that.
I think in 2021. No, was it before that?
Oh, it's before COVID. I was thinking like 2018.
So the original came out in 2017.
Well,
Trying to
while you're live googling
find.
the when you have a
It
game,
was the end of 2017 when they
okay,
first were letting people play the BR mode.
so you have a game that is now 5 years old.
Yeah.
It has
5.5, almost 6.
six. Oh wow, that's right. Oops, I'm losing my years. But they continuously create new content. And it's not even really new content. It's the same fucking thing over and over again. But now I can do it as Darth Vader, or I could do it as the
Yeah.
Incredible Hulk, or fuck, I could be Thor, or whatever you want to be. And people eat that shit up. But I was like, the reason why it was one of the greatest, most influential games of gaming history is, you know, my favorite Fortnite story. And I know I've told it on here, but I'm gonna tell it again. Is when the NFL banned Fortnite because they were having players show up late to practices and games because they stayed up
playing Fortnite.
they stayed up late all night playing Fortnite. They were in the locker rooms playing Fortnite. They were more concerned about playing a video game than they were, making $1 million a game or some shit. And
Yeah. Well, they did so many things right. They have made all the same mistakes as every other battle royale. Now it's a ton of sweats, but the nice thing they have is the player count is still so fucking high. They they don't push matchmaking as heavy. They try to get you in a match as soon as possible. But it's still matchmaking a little bit, but not every single game feels like a fucking sweat fest.
yeah,
But every game does feel like a build fest, so it's not fun. But they
well,
did it right
yeah,
by having it on PC and Switch and PlayStation and Xbox and your phone, and every single one of those could join up together, all within the game. You didn't have to download something extra. You didn't have to do anything extra, or like all you had to do was type in like their fucking name, and it would find it and say, "Is this the person you meant?" And you go, "Yep," and then you just fucking joined up and you all played together.
yeah.
Like
I can't stand. I can't stand Fortnite. The building, you're right. It just if it
played it
was
for a little bit when they released the no build mode because the building is the worst part of Fortnite.
well, I was like if it was just no building, it wouldn't be. I wouldn't find it as unfun to play. Like I think I would play it then, but it just once again, BRs are for me. BRs are not a solo game; they're a team game, and I enjoy playing with people that I'm friends with.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, that's the thing too with all their events and their silly skins and all. You just fuck around and have fun on Fortnite. And
yeah,
to their benefit, having that player account they do, it is nice that you can, all die and immediately hop back into a game and go.
right.
Even Halo 5 didn't have that towards the end of Halo 5. Matchmaking would take 20, 30 minutes because they were so fucking hard pressed on, well, we can't let you, slip out of the scope of what your rank is, or the player experience. Oh,
Well,
yeah. Well, I'd rather matchmake for 45 minutes. That way I can have a sweaty fucking game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and once again, that was the same problem that we had talked about before. Is their player count was so fucking low. It makes it even harder. Oh, okay. Well, you can only match up against level 60s. Okay. Well, there's only seven of them right now playing. What are you gonna
Yeah.
do? You know, it's
Well, and that's how Halo 5 was for the last year and a half. If I would play Breakout, I was champ rank. All I would play is the same fucking people over and over again. It was just them. Because they refuse to sacrifice. They're like, whatever, matchmaking time, the player experience. They don't even know what player experience means. They spout that all the time. 343 is the worst of this. How they spout all the time about wanting to make player experience good, and then release a thing that has the absolute worst player experience there is. Like,
yeah.
I didn't even see Izzy sneak behind.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I just saw it on the stream. She's sneaky.
Yep.
Well, I mean, I hate to beat a dead horse, but Halo Infinite's dead. There's really nothing you can do. Even if they release the Tatanka Battle Royale mode or whatever, they've kind of missed the boat on battle royale living because like how we're talking.
Well-
Until somebody has a truly unique take on it and does it correctly and can make it where it's fun and doesn't feel like a fucking sweat fest, like I don't, that's not going to bring it back. They almost need to just give up on it and say, you know, we're hitting the drawing board again. We really fucked up.
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, we remember when we talked about when Infinite was coming out, and we talked about we did a whole episode on whether we believed that they were going to have a BR or not,
Yeah.
and we said that you had to release it day one, like it
Well,
had.
Forge too.
Yeah, Forge too.
And they the same thing with Forge. They didn't, and just assumed, well, our players will come back to play Forge. Will they? Like you got.
Nope.
It's like it's the same thing as our government. They're like, these are our policies from 20 years ago, and we're going to do the same thing. It's like we're in a whole different world now.
Right.
Like you can't. That's not how the gaming industry works anymore, and like they just refuse to accept that you can't just run Halo how Halo would have worked before. Like even though Halo did Halo 3 release with Forge, or did it come later? I swear it had it when it first released,
I think it did.
and they just added to it later on with more stuff, and then I can't remember though.
I honestly, I do not remember, because I mean that
I
that type
can't
of
remember either. It had a ton of stuff at launch though, so it was fun, and it never really
Maybe-
dipped in player count for a long time.
Maybe it didn't. Maybe it was like a later add-on thing, because I don't remember playing custom Halo 3 games until towards the end of Halo 3. And it was like
No, Forge. Wait. This says Forge was initially released alongside Halo 3. What does that mean? I don't remember, man. It's been so long ago. I think it did, though. I think it had it at launch. It's just nobody really knew what it was.
Maybe that's what it was, because it definitely wasn't until the end of Halo 3 did we start playing
Yeah.
did I start playing the Infection games, because I remember that was like the first thing we played, and we were playing it because it really wasn't even. I mean, it was nowhere near what Forge is now, of course, but I mean, you really couldn't edit the map. You could just kind of add things that you wanted to add and stuff like that. And I remember playing. It was the beach map, Beachhead. Is that what it's called? Can't remember.
Zanzibar?
Is it Zanzibar? Is that what it is? I can't remember. But I just remember there was that, there was the bunker up on the left on the hill, and that was we were playing zombies, and that was like you had to get to that bunker to to survive, and I was just like, holy shit, this is going to change everything.
Yeah, no, it was so fun.
And
then towards the end of Halo 3, you had fucking ridiculous creations where, like, fucking, they had like they took modes and just somehow made it work for like scoring for other shit. Like, I still have no idea how like the scripting worked on some of those fucking custom games. Like, just insane. Like, and it's funny they've made Forge more and more complex year after year with Halo 4, 5, and Infinite. And the quality of custom games has just gone down more and more and more. Like,
well, because the people that were making those custom games, they're not there anymore.
yeah,
They don't have any all those big name creators and all those. It's just, once again, you took a game that everyone loved, and you didn't even have to listen to your players. I wish you would have, but you didn't really even have to. You just had to stay engaged. That's it.
yeah,
That's all they had to do. Is if they were giving us, maybe every couple of months, giving this big, hey, this is what's going on, this is where we're at. It just.
Well, even Halo 5 only released like 3 maps during the first year. I swear there was only one new map every like 3 or 4 months for the first year of Halo, but they would talk about it and they would show it off.
Yeah.
And they go, all right, here's this new map, and then like one new mode, and Oddball's coming eventually.
Well, yeah. Well, then,
But here's a new breakout mode, and like, oh,
or I don't know.
gaming as a whole, but Halo is just the saddest because it's so sad that we can't enjoy it anymore. Like you still can't get on and enjoy it. Melees still don't count. The servers are still fucking awful in Halo Infinite. All I see constantly, all day, every day on uh, Twitter is fucking clips of just stuff that doesn't count or makes no sense or shooting through walls. Like it's still a fucking joke. Like it's been out for a year and a half, and it's still not in a state that they should have released it. Like I don't know. I hope it serves as a good lesson for other studios, the downfall of Halo, and they again the problem is money and investors won't let you take the time to make it right before you release.
Have they made any? Because I've stopped following Halo, almost. Well, the game side of it, I've stopped following altogether. There's some new books and stuff that's coming out that I'm kind of looking forward to, maybe getting around to reading. But
Yeah.
Are they going to continue on their 10-year Halo Infinite plan, or are they just going to scrap it and give us something new?
I don't even know at this point. Last I saw, there was only like 5,000 players playing it, so like you got to be bleeding money.
It's amazing. It's amazing how far that game fell, that franchise fell. Because I mean,
Yeah.
this was Microsoft's flagship game, and I mean, it's so much so. They tailored their search engine around it. With using Cortana as an AI, and I mean, they dumped so much time, effort, and energy into the game and into the franchise, and now here it is. Once again, fucking Call of Duty just keeps on a rolling. Every
Call of Duty's been struggling too right now.
Well, we're in between
The
games.
last few releases have not been great,
Well,
but
yeah.
they still have way more than 5,000 players though.
Yeah, but I mean that's the thing is they might be starting to struggle a little bit right now because the last Call of Duty's been out a year now, give or take.
I don't know. I don't really follow it.
But well, I'm just saying it's about time
think
for them to start hyping the next game.
Well, I think the new version of Warzone technically counts as a release. I have no idea.
I miss
We didn't
playing
really
it
play
though.
it.
Yeah, we need to get back and playing
Yeah.
it some because I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I just miss playing. I almost was like, man, do I get on and play Rocket League? See, the nice thing about Rocket League is like it has matchmaking, but like it, I don't know. It feels more lax in the way the matchmaking works. Sometimes we get rolled, and then sometimes we roll people. But for the most part, it's fun to just say easy peasy. Like
We haven't played that in a while. I've been afraid to go back to that game because of how sweaty it must be.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I'm wondering if like
Should we do it because
there, I just want a good game that I can just relax and play that's fun. But it's so hard. That's the other thing. Even games that come out that aren't necessarily tailored towards the competitive side, they get sweaty so fast. Somebody picks it up on Twitch, and a bunch of the good players start playing it, and like it gets sweaty real fast, and the common denominator again is all the games kind of ruin themselves by having matchmaking.
yeah.
As soon as somebody figures out that they should just not have that and let it be random, maybe even just connection based, and just call it good and let it roll how it rolls. Like the funny thing is nobody's even taken the gamble. I haven't seen a game come out that goes, "Yeah, we don't have matchmaking." I haven't seen it. Every game has some version of matchmaking. Yeah, they have different algorithms or different systems of how it works or different ratings or whatever they use, a ELO system or whatever. But I haven't seen a game come out that doesn't use matchmaking. They're all so worried about player experience,
Yeah.
and it's crazy how often I hear streamers and pros saying that if it just didn't have matchmaking. And it's so funny too, like people light them up and say, that's stupid. You just want to be able to pub stomp on people. And they're like, yeah,
Yeah,
but don't you
sometimes.
want to as well?
Yeah.
They're having the exact same problem. The streamers that play nonstop all
Yeah.
day are facing all the other streamers that play nonstop all day. So neither of them are having fun. And then the people that see them say, hey, I wish you'd take matchmaking out so I can pub stomp some people. And then all the people go, I don't want to get pub stomped. It's like you'd rather just fucking barely make it and never win and lose all the time. Sometimes you got to get pub stomped so you can have the chance to also, stomp on people yourselves.
Now I'm gonna have to look now because it's got me curious about what World of Warship Legend how they do their matchmaking.
I wonder.
Because I've not really had. I mean, I've played a few games where we got rolled, but I like the way they do it. It's 9v9, but you can only have teams of 3.
So you can't just go in with a full stack lobby.
Yeah, so I think that also makes a difference. I think that helps.
If you have a pretty well balanced game too, that can kind of help.
Right.
That'll help a little bit with your balancing. That's one problem that Apex has always super struggled with. Like, it's never balanced. There's always one weapon that's the weapon you should be using right now because there's some attachment that breaks it and it makes it the best weapon in the fucking game. And then they fix it and then it breaks another weapon. Remember the RE45 with the fucking
Disruptor rounds.
disruptor? Yeah, just fucking tear through. Yeah.
So okay, well I understand that part. I'm trying to figure out.
I just want to have fun on a game again, and it's so hard. There's just nothing fun. It's hard too because like my favorite genre of games is shooters, but they're one of the most susceptible to sweaties. Like,
So it looks like the way World of Warships works is it is skill based to an extent, but the way the game works is you have all these different factions that you can play. You can mix and match. You don't have to be exclusive to one. You don't have to play all American ships, or you don't have to play all Italian ships, or whatever.
yeah,
But there's it's broken down by you have destroyers, cruisers, aircraft carriers, and battleships, and they're each of those ships within the faction are tiered. You have like level 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to level 8. And
Yeah.
the higher the level, the more hit points, the more damage. You have to unlock them and whatnot. And so the way theirs works is when you say you choose, it doesn't matter what class of ship you choose. It just whatever level it is. So say you say you're going to play a tier 4 ship. The way their matchmaking works is they're going to match you with other people that are playing either tier 4 ships, or they go what they have is +1 -1. But you might also go against tier 5 ships, but you might also go against tier 3 ships. So you have that like one tier in each direction. But then they go on to say that they also base it on how many ships you have unlocked. So if you're like brand new player and you've only got like 2 ships unlocked, you're not going to go against someone that's got all of them unlocked. So there's, I guess, it's more along the way of like the people that have a lot of time in it versus new people. That's kind of neat because it says that they do have skill. It is skill based matchmaking. They attempt to match you with similar rank to you, but they also try to rank you against the number of ships that you have. Well, I mean, like I said, I have had games that were, because most of the games it's a point-based game where you have basically control zones that you have to be in to control and all that. But it's also, if you eliminate all the ships on the other team, you also win. But most of the games that I've played on the PvP side have been, okay, we won, but we only had like 2 ships left, or we lost and only had like three. The other team had 3 ships left. So it's like, okay, this is a relatively close game, but it never really felt. It never really felt. I never really got sweaty. So I'm not going.
That's the thing that games need to figure out. Maybe they need to ask ChatGPT, hey, how can I matchmake my game so it's not fucking a sweat fest for every single player across the board?
Well, I have Chad open. We can ask him and see what he says.
Because so far, most every game out pretty much is doing it wrong. It's just hard to enjoy almost any game because they're so worried about you facing your players. And then you get the problem of smurfing. Then you get all these fucking streamers that start a new account, and then for the first 3 games against brand new players, then they absolutely just steamroll them. And the whole reason they even created a Smurf account in the first place is because you've matchmaking with sweaties every fucking round. You'd get rid of the smurfing problem if you just, let non-ranking matches be non-ranked.
So Chad here has given us an excellent number of ways. He says that he says to improve the playability of your video game without relying on skill-based matchmaking can be achieved through various approaches. Tutorials and onboarding provide comprehensive tutorials and onboarding experience to help new players understand. Difficulty levels, implementing difficulty levels allowing players to choose what suits their skills. That doesn't always work for multiplayer. Making a balanced game, focus on creating a balanced gameplay experience that rewards both skill and strategy. Here's a neat idea. Matchmaking based on playstyle or preferences. Instead of purely skill-based matchmaking, consider implementing matchmaking systems that take into account players' playstyles, preferences, or objectives. For example, players who enjoy exploration could be matched with others who share the same interest. I like that. That's clever.
Well, that would be one way too. Kind of like how Halo 3, again, you could do connection-based or skill-based. You could have it be where, like, maybe it's a battle royale, but it has some PvE elements or explorer or like a thing you have to go scan or whatever. Maybe you could say, it's like, remember the 360, the underground, and
that's
the
what
pro,
I was getting ready to bring that up.
You could maybe we could go back to that same thing, and I'm not sure if matchmaking ever took that into account. I think it was by game. I don't think it checked your 360 account and went, oh, they're an underground, let's put them with other undergrounds. But maybe it did. I have no idea.
I think some games did, and I swear I think Halo 3 did.
I don't know. Halo 3's matchmaking was just so fucking good, and the whole clan system and the hierarchy of clans.
Well, that was
clan matches and
number 5 on this list. Social features enhance the social aspects of the game by integrating features such as chat systems, guilds, clans, or communities. This allows players to engage with each other, seek advice, form teams, and create a sense of camaraderie.
Proximity chat would help a lot too if you just make the game.
Every game deserves it.
If you just make the game super fun to play, then it doesn't matter if it's sweaty. If I'm just having a good time.
Oh, and number 8, receive and take into consideration feedback from your player community and use it to make.
Nobody does that.
And use it to make balancing adjustments to the game. This ensures that the game remains fair and enjoyable for all players, regardless of skill.
Actually, you know who did do that until the game just kind of outplayed its life? Rogue Company.
I never did get a chance to play that.
Rogue Company every single week, and I'll always go back to Rogue Company because it's so fucking good. They implemented, they still have stuff in their matchmaking that nobody else has, like where it's a 4v4 arena type, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you end up loading into the game and somebody disconnected or left or whatever the fuck happened to end up being a 3v4, it doesn't even start. It kicks you right back to the lobby and says, one of the teams had fewer players than expected, so we just started the matchmaking over. Why would we, why would we make either team suffer through that fucking garbage 3v4 or 2v4 nonsense? That's stupid. Just restarts the matchmaking process. The other thing is, that so many games don't do, especially battle royales. A few do it now, but when you somehow drop or disconnect or your game crashes or whatever the fuck, being able to join back, join in progress.
Join in progress, and if not join in progress, to at least I'm really torn because I liked it where you could have it as a setting, and some of the games where you could have matchmaking in progress. If you do lose somebody, it'll matchmake you somebody in to to fill that spot.
Yeah. Well, the way that Rogue Company did it, which I fucking loved, uh, if you had a rage quitter or whatever, or if they dropped or whatever, if you restart your game, it would automatically check, hey, what were you doing before your game crashed or start? And it did this on PC, Xbox, everything. It would automatically put you back into that game.
That's nice.
If you didn't want to, like if your game didn't crash, you just went to the menu, you could not start another game. You couldn't start matchmaking. You couldn't start even searching until that game was over. If you tried to start searching again, it would
I like
automatically
that.
throw you. It would automatically throw you back in that game, as well as it would give you a punishment. So if you're a rage quitter and you quit, not only can you not do anything else until that match is over, anyways, regardless, and it would punish you. Like it, so it just it basically fixed rage quitting. There's no point to rage quit because you can't do anything until that match is over, anyways. You might as well play it out. The one thing they did combat, because some people were like, well, then how do we, we're getting absolutely fucking wrecked. How do we quit the game? It has a forfeit option, you know.
Yeah.
So if you're in a 3v4 and two of your players say, hey, forfeit, I
Yeah.
want out of here, it'll end the game. It doesn't just force you to play out the fucking game. Like I don't know, so many fucking things that Rogue Company did that were just so fucking far ahead of everyone else. And for such a small team too, there was only like 18 people on the team. But oh, I never even said. So the thing they did, right?
All right.
Pretty much every month they had a new map or a new rogue, a new character. But what they would do a week before the update, they had a test server that they would release. Here's all the new stuff that's coming out next week. Tell us what you like and what you don't like. So every player could get on and test it for free and go, I like this or I don't like that. And, they would take that fucking feedback. And before the actual update even released, they had tweaked it, according to the feedback. If like the new rogue, everyone's like, oh, this guy's way too fucking powerful. He's just dumb. He's dummy thick and like nobody can put him down. They'd come out that week and go, hey, the update's coming out this week. We've tweaked, uh, you know, the runner so he's not fucking ridiculous, overpowered. Let us know how you guys like it when the actual update drops. But like, they would constantly, they would have an update show on Twitch every single Friday. Rogue Company Friday. They say, hey, here's the changes we think we're gonna do. Here's what's coming. Let us know what you think. Give us the feedback. And they constantly take feedback, and like it kept such a small game alive that almost nobody knew about, but it had such a loyal following. The people that liked it kept fucking playing it because they took feedback, and it was such a different game from release to, it only lasted like 2 years. The player count was dropped off a lot, and they got to a point where, they released all the content they had planned. Even though they did for a solid 2 years, every single month, new map, new character. It was on a rotation where this map it'd be a map and then a new character, new map for 2 years, and then after that content, went through, then the player count really died. But it's funny, in the 2 years that game completely morphed what it was from start to finish, and here we are coming up on 2 years since Infinite released, and it's still fucking just the same pile of trash.
Hot
Nothing has
garbage.
changed. And again, Rogue Company had about 18 developers. So, I mean, what are you gonna do? It's crazy if you just took player feedback, the people that play your game, and say, hey, this is what we want. And I don't know. I don't work there. Maybe there is a bunch of red tape, and Microsoft just refuses to pass off any changes and says, nope, this is what we're doing. This is what we're going to do. We don't care what the players say. I have no idea. But it just feels
I
like
have no idea. We should have stopped right there.
whoever's making the choices, you're doing it wrong. Just completely ignoring and not acknowledging your community at all. You killed Halo. Congratulations.
Well, I want to make a pivot because I don't want
Okay.
to I don't want to do a super long episode this week. So I want to move on to another conversation that we need to have.
Oh, we definitely need to have.
Um,
What are you thinking?
Oh, I was going to talk
There
about.
was something I wanted.
Oh, you go first. You go first.
Well,
Because
I don't know what you wanted to talk about.
Oh, I want to discuss before the show is over with. I want to talk about D&D.
Oh, okay,
Um,
that's different than what I was
yeah.
going to say. Pivot.
Yeah, pivot because I
No,
want
you're right. To your right. No, my right. Pivot.
I want to talk about the changes that we're going to have on the Wednesday stream for D&D.
Oh, okay. Well,
You go first.
I'll tell you what I wanted to talk about because you said you don't want to have a super long podcast, and we might.
Oh yeah, no, we can't.
So, what I wanted to talk about, it's been a while since we last did a podcast.
yeah, it has.
I had started Rebels, right? The last time we had a podcast.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure I talked
Yeah,
about it.
you
That's
had,
right, because I
yeah.
said Ezra was a bitch. Okay.
Yeah, fuck off.
I finished Rebels since. I've also finished Bad Batch. I just 20 minutes before we started the episode, I watched the finale, the last episode of Bad Batch.
Okay.
By the way, I've looked it up. There's a new season coming. Fucking stoked.
Of Bad Batch.
Yes.
Yeah.
I now understand. Maybe we won't talk about it, but all I'm going to say is this one thing. Oh, I understand two things. Number one, I was heavy on Favreau. I love Favreau. Favreau's fucking amazing.
Mm-hmm.
He's an excellent content creator. He's an excellent director. He's an excellent person. Filoni is the fucking king of Star Wars.
Yes.
I now understand that. That's the first thing. Filoni knows his fucking shit about Star Wars. He knows how to tell a good Star Wars story.
Yep.
He knows the characters. He knows the lore. Praise the Star Wars gods that Filoni isn't now in charge. I cannot wait for where Star Wars goes from here. So that's the number one thing I understand.
That's why
now-
Ahsoka's gonna be so fucking good.
I know before I was like, no, Favreau, and you were like, no, Filoni.
Filoni.
I understand. Filoni for Star Wars. Favreau for whatever else, if it's entertainment-wise, sure. Filoni, if it's Star Wars, Filoni.
Favreau's greatest ability is he knows how to take that finished product and put it on the market and make it successful.
Oh, he knows how to market it, and he also knows how to take something that maybe somebody nerdy and like someone like Filoni who can't explain it well to Disney execs and get the idea passed.
that was my next thing.
Favreau knows how to have that discussion with higher ups and go, no, trust me, that's the direction we need to go.
Yeah. Well, he is a great intermediary between the suits and the nerds.
He's a Jew. He does his thing.
Yeah, it's true. Here we go. Politically incorrect. Now we got it.
Love Favreau, but I might Daddy Filoni for Prez. But number two, the other thing I totally understand now, which I was really confused at before, Filoni had said in an interview leading up to Ahsoka, a bunch of people asked, do I need to watch Rebels? Do I need to watch Rebels? And he said, no, you don't need to watch Rebels. You should probably watch Bad Batch. And I was like, well, that makes no sense. Because I was in the middle of Bad Batch, or Rebels, sorry. I hadn't started Bad Batch yet. And I was like, that makes no sense. All the characters in Rebels are the stars and the characters in Ahsoka. What do you mean I don't need to see Rebels? Now, having watched Bad Batch, the amount of important stories and important points of this is how that happened, this is when that happened, this is the amount of important shit that is covered in Bad Batch. Now I understand why Filoni said that.
So you understanding how the importance of the cloning and the cloning facilities and why Thrawn is so pivotal
The
to what's going on.
Kaminoans and in Omega and the Fett bloodline and the fucking Order 66 and the decommissioning and all
the
the clone
decommissioning
stuff.
was terrible. Yeah, it was heartbreaking.
There's so many important things in Bad Batch that are covered. Of like it literally starts at the out point of, carry out Order 66. That's the first 2 minutes of the fucking show, and then it goes from there. I also like now watching Rebels and Bad Batch. Whether I don't know if I finally took an interest. Or Filoni's just a better storyteller than what we've had before.
Yes.
I totally understand all the politics behind it. I was always kind of fuzzy. Like when I was little, I was not into politics, so I didn't know what the republic was. Or every time I heard the word separatist, I was like, I don't know what the fuck that means.
Right.
Separate, like the new republic, the rebels, the fucking empire. I was always confused who was what and what was like the revenge of the empire. I'm I'm pretty sure as a kid I thought the revenge of the empire was like Luke and Leia. They're getting the revenge. I never knew what it was. But
Right.
through Filoni storytelling, I totally understand who everyone is. You understand the separatists and the whole fucking droid thing and the different political factions and the New Republic. And like he does such a good job explaining it without ever sitting down and saying, this is the thing. He
Right.
just tells it through story. I understand the whole political spectrum of Star Wars and like who the Empire is and them overtaking the galaxy and
Go
like,
back.
why the rebels are fighting them.
Go
Like,
back now. Now that you finished all of that, go back and watch episodes 1, 2, and 3, and watch it with the
4, 5, and 6, or 1, 2, and 3. The prequels.
the prequels, 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
Um,
With now understanding all that.
with the understanding of the politics behind it, because that was, and even 4, 5, and 6, because all of it's been a commentary on politics. It's all been a
Yeah.
commentary on, George Lucas, when he was creating 4, 5, and 6, it was it was a very heavy commentary on the Vietnam War. Because you look at the rebels were the Vietnamese, and how they were standing up to the big scary war machine that's the Americans, and how the little guy can make such a huge difference. And there's a little bit more to it than that, but there was a lot of comparisons between even though we fought and beat fascism, and we beat the Nazis and whatnot, is that we still had a lot of those kind of inbred genes into the American system. But throwing that out to the side, going back and looking at episodes 1, 2, and 3, and watch it with the context of who the separatists are,
Yeah.
because
Well, and
when-
I'll also understand the fucking whole assembly of the big political room with everyone has their own individual pod.
right,
The fucking Senate.
right,
He does such a good job portraying that in Bad Batch
right,
that I'm like, oh, I get it. Like I don't know what I thought when I was younger. Watching.
Right.
I don't know.
What-
I never saw the weight of the political aspect of it. Like,
Star Wars is incredibly political, and that's
Yeah.
why I get such a kick out of the. I have my dislikes of episodes 7, 8, and 9, and I've been very
What do you
vocal.
mean? What's 8 and 9? What's that?
Yeah, exactly.
I pretend those don't exist.
But
7 is fine.
they like to come back and they like to talk about, oh well, how woke Star Wars is, and how you got to have the female has to make all of the be this huge difference maker in the story. And I'm like, do you understand that Star Wars has always been incredibly political? Like,
Yeah.
it always has been. This is nothing new.
Well, and he's always had strong female characters. Do you not
Right.
know who Leia is from the original trilogy? What the fuck do you mean? Like, yeah, I kind of want to go back and rewatch all the movies 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Just all the and Rogue One,
Right.
all the movies that are out.
Well, go
I don't
back
know what
and
the 8 and 9 is that you're talking about. Never heard of those. but-
go back and watch 1, 2, and 3, and watch it and look at it from the perspective of what you've learned about the separatists.
Yeah.
Because-
well, now that I know what the Separatists are, and I get excited every time I see them too. I'm like, yeah, fucking the droids.
Yeah, well, and that's what makes it really cool, because when the movies didn't do
Well, they
the-
were a huge part in 1, 2, and 3,
Right.
and like I just never really understood anything about them. I don't think they're gone in 4, 5, and 6, right? There's almost no.
Oh yeah. Well, no, that's the end of episode 3. Is when the Emperor sends Anakin to Mustafar, which is the lead up of the big battle between Anakin and Obi-Wan. Anakin's there because that's where the separatists are. That's the Enclave. That's their hideout. And he rolls up, and they're like, "Oh, okay, Lord Vader, what do you need for us to do? Darth Sidious is going to give us instructions," and Vader's like, "Nope, yoink," and he kills all of them because they were done. The Emperor didn't need them anymore. The Emperor spent, the Emperor spent, 30 years cultivating and growing this separatist movement, and using their political power to create instability within the Republic, to push the whole galaxy into war, the whole galaxy into war, and he didn't have a leg to stand on. The suit cost him an arm and a leg. So what can I say? But
the other cool thing in 1, 2, and 3 that it was just never really explained, so I never fully understood it. Now, having watched Bad Batch, Filoni fully lays it out and explains to you. I never understood like what happened to the clones and why they had clone troopers and now they have just stormtroopers, and like what the fucking difference is, who's in the suit, like
right.
why did the armor change? Like there's a reason for it. It's not just because movie
Right.
effects changed and they just changed the props. There's a whole fucking thing to it.
Right. I think my favorite, one of my least favorite movies in the whole franchise is Episode 2, because it is really slow, but it's heavily political. And
Yeah.
there's a scene where Count Dooku has captured Obi-Wan, and he's got him in the suspension, and and Count Dooku is talking to him and going like, "I really wish Qui-Gon was here, because I need to talk to him, because the Republic is being controlled by a Dark Lord of the Sith, and everybody's been lied to." And Dooku lays it all out for Obi-Wan in that scene, and and it's like, I really wish I could talk to Qui-Gon, because Qui-Gon would know what to do to make things better. And Obi-Wan's like, "Nah, fuck you, I don't believe you." And when you watch it from the perspective of like, okay, Obi-Wan's the hero, so he knows everything. He's always going to be right and knows what's going on. So when he turns and says to Count Dooku, "Well, you're just a liar. You're trying to manipulate me," and all of that credibility gets thrown out the window. And then now that you're watching the Clone Wars and Bad Batch, and you're seeing what the Separatists were, now you go back and you look at Count Dooku. Like, Count Dooku was genuinely a separatist. He was trying to change the old Republic, and get rid of the bureaucracy, and get rid of just how bureaucratic it's become, and it's no longer for the people. It's all for the bureaucrats and the politicians to make money and to consolidate power. And he was trying to fight against that, but what he didn't know was the master that he was serving, that he thought was going to make all these changes, was
for the Empire,
was had no use for him. And that was the big shame for Darth Maul, because when Darth Maul died, that was spoiler. He was the apprentice to Darth Sidious, and then Maul dies, and Sidious is like, "Well, I need somebody new. I need there always has to be two." So he turns to Count Dooku and plays on that separatist mentality, and grooms him to be his apprentice. But even then, it was just a means to an end. He always intended to sacrifice Count Dooku to Anakin. Anakin was always the end game. Anakin is the whole thing, and
he's the chosen one.
Yeah,
you were the chosen one.
Oh, that scene. That's some of the best Star Wars is that scene.
I don't know. It'll be cool, like, understanding so much more. It also, the more Filoni Star Wars you watch, the more you realize 7, 8, and 9 how out of touch they are too.
They really are.
They're like an offshoot of, like, they're in the universe, but they have nothing to fucking do with it.
And I want so badly to see 7, 8, and 9 as to what they were supposed to be, to fit into Star Wars. as
Yeah.
as a lifelong Star Wars fan, as grew up, playing with sticks as their lightsabers and all these things as you did as a kid. I there's there, we've Some of my other Star Wars friends, we've talked about it, and one of the things that you have to realize about Star Wars, especially the Star Wars movies, um, each each trilogy is made for a certain group of people. 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
The 4, 5, and 6 was made for the younger Boomer generation, the Gen X generation that were post Vietnam. That's who it was for.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you turn to the prequels 1, 2, and 3, and
Those are made for kids.
George Lucas said very specifically, I made those for my kids, not just for kids, but he made them specifically for his kids. So these are kids movies, even though once you get into like episode 3, it gets fucking dark. But and then since 7, 8, and 9, if you put it in the context of okay, who are these movies made for? They're they're made for they're made to bring in a new generation of Star Wars fans. And a lot of people say, well, that's just pandering and that's woke. Like, no,
It's been 20 fucking it's time for new Star Wars stuff.
Because I can tell you right now, Isabel loves 7, 8, and 9. She loves Rey. I mean, that she's got the Rey costume. She had the Rey themed birthdays. Like, she just loves Rey. And then when you look at it and go, well, yeah, Rey's made for young girls. That's what she's meant to empower young girls. And the same thing with that's what Finn was there for. That's what Rose was there for. So once
I can't wait to find out who Rey really is and not what they said in 9. I can't wait for Filoni to tell us the truth.
I was, and see I'm gonna find that really interesting as we go, because this is filling in the gaps between episode 6 and episode 7 is what Filoni's working with Ahsoka and Mando and Book of Fett.
The cloning and how Palpatine is back
and so they're bending. It's almost like what they're doing is they've created. I think of it kind of like a math equation. Okay, they know the answer is 23. Now they just have to make the equation makes
sense to add up to it.
Yeah, and that's what Book of Fett, Mando, or the Mando verse is what they're calling it, and I like that because that includes Ahsoka, and that's what they're doing.
It's good.
I know we'll never be told this. I mean, it might get leaked one day, but my question is Filoni telling the stories that he's wanting to tell in this time period in the Mandoverse, or is he writing the equation to the solution? Did he always want to tell this story about Grogu and how he's the connection to
It feels like he's kind of doing both. It feels like as he set out and did Rebels and stuff, he had like an idea. He wanted to do his own thing, but he also wanted to bring back, all the stuff from the prequels and like, what the heck? How does everything tie with what's going on now?
Well,
but then also as 7, 8, and after 7, 8, and 9, he was like, oh, well, like that makes no sense, and like,
well, that's my question, because the stories that are being explored now that Rebels and Bad Batch, especially Bad Batch, is tying into the new stuff. That stuff didn't. None of that storylines existed pre. Sorry, none of that existed pre. Pre Disney.
yeah,
Once Disney took over and the storylines changed, so Filoni. I just wonder what the stories would have been like had Disney never gotten involved the way they had gotten involved.
yeah.
And
well, I think it's just unfortunate how they did it. They're like, we need a good director. We need to do his new Star Wars movie, but nobody ever sat down and like, as you say, they made an equation. Nobody ever even sat down and thought, well, we should use the the pieces to the equation that we already have to make it make sense.
Right.
They just kind of did whatever they wanted and just made up their own answer. They weren't even worried about it. I mean, Seven, yeah, was pandering to old fans and had all kinds of moments and shot for shot recreations and whatnot. But like, for why?
Right.
Like
Well-
you said, it's for a new generation. So
Tell us a
it was
different
good for
story.
a new generation. But then you were also like, oh well, I want to bring back the other generation too. Most of the people that were already on board with Star Wars would have been fine if you didn't do shot for shot recreations. But at the same time, I don't think
Here's-
JJ's like Filoni. I don't think he knows the fucking lore behind lightsabers and why they're like a certain way, and he doesn't know anything. He's just like he just had Disney come to him and said, "Hey, make us a fucking $1 billion franchise movie," and JJ's like, "All right, I can
Here's
do that."
here's what I would do. Here's what I would have done. Taking what we now know about the way they wanted to change Star Wars, they didn't want to. They didn't want to use the lore, the expanded universe of Star Wars, the way it was presented back in the 90s through the 2000s. All right, fine. So we've got this
Yeah.
we've got this character Rey. All right. We want her to be force sensitive. We want her to be an inspiring character for the young female generation, the young audience. Cool. All right.
Mm.
Let's make her force sensitive. Let's take
Okay.
away her parents. Let's put her on a backwater planet.
Yep,
And then
checking all the boxes of trying to make her relatable and lovable.
right. But instead of making her this, well, why isn't she? Why is she all of a sudden force sensitive? How is she able to do these things that that Luke or Yoda or all these other characters, all these other Jedi, it took years of training for them to be able to do these things, or at least or in Luke's case, a weekend at the like a weekend trip to Yoda's
Weekend
to
at
learn.
Yoda camp.
Yeah. But have Luke search her out. Instead of having Luke as this, forever hidden away, we're going to take and make Luke a failure and make him hide away just like Yoda did because
I can't believe they did that to Luke either. That's fucking.
well, I get I can definitely see that side of Luke because Luke is the eternally good. He's not meant to fail. That's Luke's character. He's supposed to have trials, tribulations, and adversity, but in the end, he's supposed to overcome them. So,
Yeah.
and he was built that way. He was built up to be that way. He was built that way because Yoda and Yoda and Obi-Wan both are like, you're it. You are a new hope. You are the chosen one. You are going to bring balance to the Force, and because totally Anakin wasn't that, even though he was, but that's beside the point. And then to have him fail and go away into hiding, doing exactly what Yoda did. It's like you're gonna
Yeah.
you're gonna tell me that the Jedi needs to change, the Jedi need to die, the Jedi need to become something totally different than what they are. Why the hell are you doing the same thing that Yoda did? You were looking at it going, okay, I can see from the outside looking in all of the flaws and problems and mistakes that the Jedi Order made. I'm gonna go ahead and make them too. So instead
we did the
instead
same
of
thing.
yeah, instead of having that, okay, you can still have Ben Solo fall and become Kylo Ren. You can still do that. You can still have Luke lose his Jedi Academy. You can still do that. But
Yeah.
don't make it to where, he's now going to run off and hide and play the Yoda character in the new order. And have him search out Rey. And now he comes across this force sensitive girl who is incredibly force sensitive. And you can have this like, who are you? Because he even asked her that in episode 8. Who are you?
Yeah. How are you doing?
How are you doing this? So
That took me 3 days at Yoda camp. How the fuck?
yeah, how are you able to do it? Yeah. So
Well, I think the problem with 7, 8, and 9 is not even having several different directors and different writers across the board. I think the problem with all of them, the directors and writers, I don't feel like any of them sat down and said, "How does this fit as a whole, and where does this go from here?"
Yeah.
They just sat down and said, "This movie needs to be good. What are some cool aspects and good things we can put in it?" And then when Ryan did 8, he did the same thing. He kind of thought about 7, but he's like, "All right, yeah. But how can we make this cool, and what can we do that'll make it a good movie?" And then JJ got 9, and he's like, "Well, it's weird that he did those things, but we'll fix them. But how do we make this cool, and how do we make this a good movie?" Nobody sat down and like Filonized it,
Right.
where they were like, "How does this tie into something that I'm going to do in 6 fucking years?"
Right. Well, one of the things that gets me because that is an incredibly common argument, and that's an argument that I've put forth many times too. It's like there was no creative direction, there was no outline, and no story arc. There was no like, well, all right, I've got this really cool female character, and I want her to be the granddaughter of Emperor Palpatine. Okay, now let's fill in the blank. They didn't even have that. So, but then you look at episodes 4, 5, and 6. They didn't have that either. And this is where, I mean, I hate to defend 7, 8, and 9, but sometimes I kind of feel like I have to. George Lucas...
I like 7.
Well, I did too. George Lucas never intended to make episode 5. Never intended it.
Yeah.
Star Wars
Well,
was going to be a
you-
standalone...
You can feel that from 4. He thought that was going to be it and done.
Yeah. And so when you start looking at the continuities between 4, 5, and 6, if you put them under the same microscope that 7, 8, and 9 has been put under over the last 10 years, you see there's a lot of the same mistakes are made. A lot of what we're seeing with 4, 5, and 6 is we're seeing it through rose-colored glasses. This is what we grew up with.
I think you're right. He kind of did the same thing. He's like, "Well, a 5? Oh, another one. Okay."
Yeah.
And then he kind of made that, and I don't think he even expected to do any more beyond that even.
He didn't.
And then he kind of went back and kind of made it all fit. And then when he made 1, 2, and 3, I swear, like 15 years ago or whatever, I swear I heard George Lucas talk about, when I wrote 1, 2, and 3, I actually wrote a 7, 8, and 9. I thought it out and planned it out.
There is a 7, 8, and 9 George Lucas cut. It may not be in physical existence, but there was a.
I'm sure Filoni knows about it. I'm sure they've had talks.
And that and he could be giving that flavor to what we're seeing now. But when you go back and when you look at 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3 is 100% complete. We see this huge arc of Anakin, we see this huge arc of Obi-Wan, and we see this huge arc of Padme. And it was because George Lucas planned out 3 before
he wrote it as a whole.
Right.
And you can feel it. The thing I've always thought is so funny is like everyone always talks about the prequels being the worst. I'm like, what do you mean, man? There's so many cool moments. Like,
well, it's really interesting.
But because they were made for kids, they were more colorful and they were more.
It was made for a different generation. I grew up. I was born a couple of years before Return of the Jedi came out, so I grew up with the Star Wars. With Star Wars kind of already being in existence, and that that was kind of like the framework. So when I went in to watch 1, 2, and 3, as as a teenager and then young adult, I loved it. Like, I loved everything about it. I mean, it was just like, holy shit, this is what Star Wars meant to be. This was the greatest. But then you go back and you look at the Gen Xers and the younger boomers that grew up with Star Wars. Like, well, this isn't hashtag not my Star Wars. And they hated on the and they were the loudest voice in the room during it.
Star Wars is great again.
Yeah, they were the loudest voice in the room for yelling at the prequels during that time frame. Now, flash forward to now, the millennial generation grew up with 1, 2, and 3, which is we loved it because we loved it the same way the Gen Xers love 4, 5, and 6. And now looking at it from the next generation's perspective, with my kids, they love the sequels. They thought they were great. They thought they were tons of fun. They love Rey and they love all of it. And the cool thing about Star Wars, and as much as I like to bitch about it and complain and say, well, they should have done this or they made this better, what makes Star Wars so awesome is that I can fully immerse myself in Star Wars and never have to touch any of the content that I don't like.
Yeah.
You know, I can.
Well, there's so much.
Right.
There's so much to the universe.
Yeah, there's so much that I can, or even if I don't want to look at all the different content, I can just look at, well, you know what? I just want to play the games. You know, that's it. I don't care about anything else. Or
you could have been just cosplaying and just focus. All I care about is clone troopers.
Yeah.
That's all I care about is clone troopers.
Yeah.
They're different ranks and they're different armors and they're different.
Yep. And it's like you don't. And the greater Star Wars community needs to understand that is if you don't like 7, 8, and 9, don't watch it. It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh.
Yeah. Because I don't. I'll watch 7 from time to time because 7 was kind of fun.
I like 7. I'll
8,
probably rewatch it again. 7 is the only one I've watched more than once.
Yeah. 8 broke my heart with some of the decisions that they made. And Luke Skywalker is my favorite character. I don't know if I've said this on the show. I may have. I've grew up loving Luke Skywalker. You know, as the kid that grew up with Star Wars, being a Jedi, there was no greater Jedi than Luke Skywalker. Because when I was a kid, Anakin didn't exist yet. You know, it was just Darth Vader. Darth Vader wasn't a Jedi. He was Darth Vader. He was the bad guy. So, you know, if you wanted to be a good guy, you had to be, you wanted to be Luke. So, so Luke was this in my eyes, he was couldn't do any wrong. He always knows what's right. That's the way I see Luke is Luke always knows what's right because he's Luke. And seeing this beat down, dejected, just broken human being that was Luke in episode 8, it just, it made me angry. It genuinely made me angry because it was just like, this isn't the character that I grew up pretending to be when I was a kid. You know, Luke Skywalker would never do this. They did Luke
him
dirty.
Wrong.
Now, I will say
8 has some fucking amazing moments.
Oh,
though. There's some incredible. The fucking red sand and the little slider. It's so cool. Props to Ryan. You just don't know Star Wars. That's the only. That's it.
That battle, the throne room, battle.
Oh yeah,
that's all
so
red.
Cool.
Loved it.
Yeah.
I know. Mark Hamill has been very vocal about how much he disliked the portrayal of Luke and how he was.
I bet Filoni brings back, because he's bringing back Rey. I bet Mark Hamill makes an appearance as a Force ghost or whatever the heck.
I hope so.
I guess since he's gone now, I don't know.
And
he goes, "Sorry, I was so moody in the last movie."
But I will say this: Episode 9 has my favorite line in all of Star Wars.
Favorite line? What line?
When there was the Force tree that was on the planet that they were on, and
the sacred text. That's your favorite line?
No, my favorite my favorite line comes after that because Yoda allows the Force lightning to strike and burn the tree, and Luke is all losing his mind because, oh my goodness, the sacred texts. And Yoda, Yoda's sitting here going, it's time for us to move on from this. We don't need this anymore. We need to build something new. And he's referring to Rey, and that being Luke's real first accomplishment as a Jedi Master. And Yoda says to Luke, "We are what they grow beyond." And it was from such a like being a teacher is you always want to see your kids be better than what you are. And then, as a dad, as a parent, I put that in the context of being a parent and looking at that from a parent to a kid is I am what I want my kids to grow beyond. I want my kids to be better. I want my kids to be more than what I was. And that line, "We are what we grow beyond," That is, or they are what we grow beyond. We are what they grow beyond. There we go. That's my favorite line in Star Wars. You know,
Yeah.
it's, you know, I've drawn so much inspiration from Star Wars. You know, not just as a kid, but as an adult, and you know, my politics and my understanding of how things work and video games and everything revolved around Star Wars. To be able to take that line from Star Wars and be like, that's the kind of parent I want to be. You know, it really meant something to me for that. So at least I can give them, at least, you know, I can give them that, because that was such a powerful line for me, and it's something that I always think about. But episode 9 hurt. Episode 9
Yeah.
hurt because they had to do so much to fix the Carrie Fisher problem.
Yeah.
Because they had already shot all this film with Carrie, but they weren't done filming it. They were still working through like the first or second edit. And she dies.
Well, that just made it even harder, because like they
Made it
did her
worse.
so wrong too.
Well, yeah. Well, they didn't have a choice, because they had to, like, okay, we've got all of these scenes that Leia has done, but we don't get anything else from her, so if we can't have any reshoots.
Yeah.
But honestly, what sucks out of all of it is the way it impacted Rose's character, because the original cut, the original writings of Episode 9 was going to be Princess Leia is kind of basically going to go into either retirement or was going to die, and everything that she was, all of her being a general and being a leader and being this inspirational force, she was going to pass it on to Rose. Rose was going to be the new Carrie Fisher, or the new Princess Leia for the new generation of Star Wars. And then, so they had all of these interactions between Carrie and Kelly Marie Tran doing the filming, and then then Carrie dies, which means they have to completely rejigger the story, and it just cuts Rose out altogether. Like, oh, you see Rose, oh, she's becoming a resistance general, and now she's running across the top of a Star Destroyer. The end. And that's her story. And it just sucks, because I really, really liked Rose's character. I loved her from the beginning, where, you know, she's just a cog in the wheel of the resistance. She was nothing special. You know, her only claim to fame was being in the right place at the right time to meet Finn. And
Yeah, it's unfortunate for her, like, because
then the internet
I mean-
fucking shat on her, which, fuck you if you think that.
yeah,
I
you
mean,
need more than, you can't have just like the main. You can't have just Luke. You can't have just Rey. You need the other relatable characters for the other. There's so many personality types, and Rose
Rose
could
was
have been
good.
that for so many, especially for like the minorities that watch the film, and they finally
Right.
have some representation
Yeah.
in Star Wars and stuff. And yeah,
That was part of it. And then poor Finn's character, how, if you watch it now, if you get a chance, go back and watch 7, 8, and 9, and just watch Finn's character development, and how you and how his character kind of evolves. He was going to be a Jedi. That was his whole thing. He was going to become a Jedi.
he was like going up, and then like just, you don't mean anything.
Yeah,
Get
and
outta here.
I hate that.
It's like what?
Yeah, because even he talks about it, it's like, oh, it's, do you think Rey's okay? And he's like, well, yeah.
I know. I thought he was going to be a fucking Jedi, a force sensitive
Yeah.
clone fucking trooper.
Yeah, he was a
like,
force sensitive stormtrooper. I mean,
oh.
you know,
We gotta have faith in Filoni. He's gonna bring it back around and explain away what the fuck happened, and go. And there's gonna be like a scene where they're all talking, and they're like, "Yeah, you remember when Carrie Fisher floated across space?" And they'd be, "What are you talking about?
oh,
Were you high on octodust?" And then there'd be this whole thing about they'll explain this new drug that was octodust, and like the Empire had snuck it into their ship, and the ship actually never blew up. The Empire came on and took them all prisoner for a while, and Luke came and saved them and got them out, and like just none of that stuff happened. It was I'm looking forward to like how Filoni ties it all together.
I,
Because again,
I'm looking forward to
having
it
a
as well.
central head and a good partner in Favreau who knows how to market and how to make stuff entertaining and you know maybe keep him grounded for doing some of the nerdier stuff that he's like nobody cares about that little part.
Yeah, honestly, I think there's a lot of that, and I think that's the reason. I think that's one of the reasons why, we're going to set the sexism aside for a moment. I think one of the reasons why, oh, I just lost my train of thought. The reason why Kathleen Kennedy gets so much hate is
Yeah.
Kathleen Kennedy is the Jon Favreau, but Jon Favreau is not Jon Favreau without Dave Filoni, you know, and Dave Filoni's not Dave Filoni without Jon Favreau. So Kathleen Kennedy never had her Dave Filoni, so she was trying to steer Star Wars in a direction that
Well, and what are you supposed to do as Disney, right? You don't you're never gonna think, okay, until it did happen. You're never gonna think, all right, let's get Filoni and Favreau. You're not gonna think that. It's gonna be your first movie after you've acquired a brand new franchise for $4.2 billion. We got to get a fucking all-star director. Can we get James Cameron? No, he's working on Avatar 47. All right, so he's out of. Who else can we get? Can we get Neil Blomkamp? I don't. His stock's kind of up and down. All right, can can we get Peter Jackson? Well, he doesn't want to touch it. Yeah, all right, then we get JJ. I'm sure they went through a list and they're like that we need a top tier director to tie the name to. We got to have a good fucking. We got to knock it out of the park. And there's probably so much stress and probably so many rewrites and so many and like they probably hit a point where JJ just said like let's just do shot for shots and remake what we know works.
yeah
And we'll see what happens with it. We'll see if it makes money. We'll see if you're going to do a full other trilogy. I know that's the goal, but I think even Disney wasn't sure at that point. Are they going to be able to make good on Star Wars?
yeah
Are they really? They had no idea the Mandoverse or Filoni or Fab. They had no idea any of that stuff was coming when they made Seven.
no
They just bought it and they're like, "What do we do? Let's make a movie, get All Star Direct."
yeah
Yeah, it's just unfortunate that it happened, and we all had to witness it. Now that it's coming all around, the future is bright.
Oh, I think so. I think that what we're going to see out of all of the new content that's coming, what we're going to see in Ahsoka, what we're going to see in the High Republic stuff that's coming.
Yeah.
The
I'm a stoked for Ahsoka.
I'm really really excited for Ahsoka because Thrawn,
Yeah. Well, one of my favorite line in all of Star Wars was actually said by Ahsoka.
which is
The absolute fucking the finale to season 2, the fucking crazy shit, and then the next episode where Ahsoka's fighting Darth Vader. I am no Jedi.
I am no Jedi. That
Yeah.
was such an amazingly good scene, and
That whole 2 episode fucking finale was fucking amazing.
watching
Incredible.
watching Ahsoka's story arc, even now, including the live action stuff, watching her character grow and develop has been. I love Ahsoka, and she got so much hate from the same people that hated on the prequels because of why does it have to be a girl, why does it have to be a young girl, why does he have to have an apprentice, and this wasn't like the way it was, and and all this, and it's like, no, she's a cool character. But what I like is the same people that were bitching about her in the first 3 seasons of Clone Wars are the ones that were crying like fucking babies at the end of the final season of Clone Wars, and she's standing there in front of the wreck of the 501st and all of her clones, and you see this, you see the kind of the culmination of Ahsoka's character. But yeah, that fight, my favorite with her is the battle that she had between her and Darth Maul, and they were up on they were up in like the rafters of the building there on Mandalore. Love that. I love, and Darth Maul's one of my other favorite. He's probably my favorite villain.
Yeah, Darth Maul is so freaking cool. He was
Um,
always my favorite when I was little. I fucking loved Darth
and
Maul.
he did have like a really weird story arc going
In
through.
Rebels?
Well, yeah, and he's got spider legs and he's gone crazy and he's completely lost his mind and then at the end and the he will avenge us line like like
Yeah.
I love it even
No.
in the end Darth Maul gets it. It took he had to lose everything. He had to be faced with his own mortality for him to finally understand that it was never about him. He was never going to achieve what he was going to achieve. He always thought that he was going to, at best, he thought he was going to be able to overthrow Palpatine. At worst, he was going to be able to prove to Palpatine that he is the apprentice that Palpatine deserves. Even though he was just
Powerful.
he was just a means to an end. His responsibility was to kill Qui-Gon. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all Maul
Well,
was
you-
created for.
You can feel it in Rebels, like when he's him in the Ezra thing. He's like, he's like fucking fed up with Palpatine and being treated like a fucking garbage,
Yeah, he wanted
and he's just like,
he wanted that he wanted his revenge, and then he brings his brother in, and they have this epic battle, and all the while he's still wanting to be at Palpatine's side.
no, it's cool. I'm excited. I hope Ahsoka meets up to our expectations because we really are putting a lot of faith in Filoni. But from all the Filoni content that I've seen, he knows how to write some Star Wars.
Oh yes. What did you
Sure,
think?
there's some cheesy filler episodes or whatever where they're like, oh, they go to this base and nothing happens, but it's still a good episode.
Yeah. What did you think of when Anakin met the brother and the sister? The Force brother, the Force sister, and like that was some of my favorite storytelling because we've always been told that Anakin was the chosen one, that Anakin was supposed to do all these great things, but we know we had no context. We had no like story of how this comes to be and like how does he fulfill it. And that storyline of him, doing battle between the brother and the sister and kind of accepting that he's the chosen one. I the first time I watched it, I thought it was really weird. And then as I gone back and watched it in the context of like understanding how Anakin's growing,
Is that on the Clone Wars?
yeah. Yeah.
Because I don't remember that.
Let's see. Yeah, that was. Yeah, that was the Altar of Mortis episode.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one.
Oh, then yeah, you'll like that. That's
Yeah, I haven't finished Clone Wars. I did Rebels first, and I just finished Bad Batch.
oh, so you've got some more to do in Clone Wars.
Yeah, so I still have to do Clone Wars.
Okay.
Bad Batch is some of the best fucking stuff I think Filoni's done, though. The amount of like, weaving important fucking events to the entirety of the Star Wars universe into just a random episode of them just visiting some base, like, really well done. I can't wait for the. I guess they're working on it now. Bad Batch season 3 comes
Yeah.
out in 2024. I
Yep.
think he's working on it now because Ahsoka's done, so he's moved on to the. So I'm wondering how it ties in. I'm wondering if we see Omega or anything at all on Ahsoka. I don't think so. I doubt it because the timeline will make no sense.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think they will.
Because
don't know.
Bad Batch is before Rebels by a long ways. In Bad
Um,
Batch, Hera's fucking a little kid.
Yeah, it.
The timeline's way before.
Well, the timeline moves through. Yeah, yeah, because Clone Wars and Bad Batch are kind of happening at the same time, or late episodes of Clone Wars. Um,
Yeah.
it's
And then Rebels is way after. The Rebels is like just before now where we're at in the Mandoverse.
No, Rebels is right before Episode
Oh.
4, because you have Clone Wars runs through the the first 6 seasons of Clone Wars exists between episodes 2 and 3,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then the final season of Clone Wars runs
that's 3 to 4.
between 3 and 4, where Rebels is also happening, because Rebels, Bad Batch, Solo, Rogue One, Andor, all of those things are basically happening in that 18-year time frame between episodes 3 and 4. Because there's an 18-year gap between 3 and 4 in universe, so they have a whole lot of time to fill in.
Yeah, so Bad Batch has to be like around episode 2 time.
Um,
Well, in episode 3, are they phasing out the clones yet?
no, they're still.
Isn't episode 2
They don't
the
start
clones
phasing out-
start attacking?
They don't start phasing out the clones until after episode 3.
Oh, so it's again in between that
Yeah,
timeline in there.
yeah, all of it. Yeah, I was gonna say Ahsoka. I mean, Rebels, Bad Batch. They're all, like I said. There's a big gap between 3 and 4, but they haven't fully fleshed out everything that was going on during that time.
Yeah. So then Ahsoka, let's see.
Ahsoka's going to take place 5 years.
So Ahsoka's got to be like now, in like 8 and 9 territory.
No,
right?
no, it's before episode 7. Everything that's happening in the Mandoverse.
Oh yeah, because Luke. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything that's happening in the Mandoverse is happening during that. There's a 5-year stint leading up to episode 7, that where you're getting the Mandoverse.
Oh, I need to watch. I need to rewatch all the movies. I think I might just go in order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, because I mean, you do it at least once.
Yeah.
And then
It's been a long time since I've watched any of the originals.
and if you're feeling really frisky, throw in Rogue One and Solo.
Well, I've watched those recently though.
I really liked Rogue One.
I guess I could rewatch them. Rogue One is pretty good. I like Solo. I don't get why everyone. It's so cool seeing the backstory to freaking 2 huge important characters, Han and freaking Chewie, and how all that relationship develops. And
Solo is I don't get the hate that people didn't like about Solo, but I look at it as
better than 8.
it is. Well, honestly, I think that's what killed. I think that's what killed Solo, is it came out less than 6 months after Episode 8 did.
Yeah,
And there was
everyone was on the hating Star Wars
Yeah.
train.
Solo was meant to be a summertime movie. That's it. It was meant to be a summer fun movie. It had lots of action. It had, all of the elements of a good action sci-fi story, and that's it. It wasn't supposed to make any great revelations, even though it did with Maul and how fucking awesome that was. But I think that's what really did Solo in, was it was too close to.
Yeah, probably. I remember that when it came out. Everyone was still so upset that 8 didn't play out like they wanted, and a lot of people didn't even see Solo. I don't think it did great at all in the first opening couple weeks.
It didn't. It really didn't. And I think it was because. But
I don't think I ever watched it until I could watch it at home. I think I watched it at home for the first time. I didn't go to the theater to see it.
It also ran against Endgame. Like it opened like the same weekend. Yeah, it opened not the same weekend, but like the same maybe week or 2 week time frame,
Well, that's just a dumb miscommunication on Disney's part. Like, you can't have your two.
Yeah,
You
flagship
can't have your
franchises.
Star. You can't have your Star Wars go up against yourself.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. All right. Well, I want to actually finally make my pivot now because it's getting.
oh, okay.
We've been 2 hours now.
Well, I'll say that's my cream of the week, Bad Batch. If you haven't seen it, so much important stuff. And if you're a little confused about some stuff, Filoni will explain it to you in Bad Batch.
Yeah, that's pretty
So
accurate.
we've covered Bad Batch for the last 30 minutes. So just go watch Bad Batch. It's on Disney Plus.
Oh, so good.
There's two seasons. Third season's started to develop right now. It's weird because animation works differently than a regular show.
It's probably in like pre-production.
Yeah, it's in like pre-production right now. Filoni's probably fleshing out how it ties into the rest of the Mandoverse or what the fuck, who he's gonna. I don't know what the timeline even looks like. It might be fucking 10 years in the future after the season 2. I have no idea, but yeah. So pivot.
Pivot. Our Wednesday game, our Wednesday D&D. I know Oreo knows because he's a part of it. But our Wednesday D&D has kind of festered out with our game we're playing Descent into Avernus. We had some players drop out. We had some people that were just like not be able to make it based on their work schedules and whatnot. So what we've decided to do is we're going to put Descent into Avernus on a very distant back burner.
We've descent into the back burner.
Descent to the back burner. It's ways away from the fire, so it's probably going to get stale and moldy. So
yeah,
we'll eventually have to throw it out and remake something later.
Well, to be fair, we're not that far into it. We've had several missing players at almost every single from the get-go. Like, it's just we never really had the steam there in the beginning. So yeah.
So
what we're pivoting to now.
So what we're pivoting to now is we are going to make, or I am going to make, I'm going to make a return back to Barovia, and we are going to run a somewhat modified telling of the Curse of Strahd. I'm really, really excited for this one. I will say this to you, and I think and Steph is in the chat. I've spent more time writing and preparing this story than I have any of my other stories.
Yeah.
I'm really excited. Well, without giving too many spoilers, I was really not even really giving a spoiler.
Steph, close your eyes.
Yeah. You guys are playing characters that are.
Do we want to wait till Wednesday to introduce how we're doing it? Because it's way different than you've ever done Strahd before. I think.
I guess. Yeah, it's a little bit differently. I had to spend a lot of time looking at. Okay, here's how Oreo, Steph, and Smokey, and it's a 3-person D&D campaign, which.
That's also got to be rare for doing Strahd as a 3-man.
I've done some reading with some other people, and they're like, yeah, you can do Strahd with 3 people, just give them an ally. Okay, makes sense. And it's like, but I have to look at the way your characters are and like what your stories are, what your motivations are, and then I have to look at the characters that you're going to meet and interact with in this game and go, okay, how are they going to proceed and portray these players? Because, your motivations for the game is drastically different than the average, the average D&D player. When they go into Barovia, the goal of Barovia is to get the fuck out. Yeah. Don't matter how we do it, we just got to get the fuck out. And you guys are saying that you want to overthrow Strahd, and
I guess we should at least intro what we're doing.
Yeah. So
cover it more in more depth on Wednesday.
The players are playing Dampires, which is the D&D playable race of vampires or lineage. They're not a race; it's a lineage. because you can apply the vampire lineage to any of the races and get some special abilities and such things such as that. But I'm really excited for that. So we're playing a race of vampires trying to overthrow a vampire to become, the rulers of Barovia. So now I have to look at it and go, okay, the majority of the characters that your characters will interact with playing Strahd normally, they all kind of had the same goals. The players want to get out of Barovia, which means they have to defeat Strahd. So their NPCs are also wanting to defeat Strahd because Strahd's evil and is controlling the lands. All right, you guys are pretty evil, and your end game is to control the land. So the majority of the NPCs that you would typically deal with in Strahd, they're not going to want to deal with you. They're not going to want to interact with you the way they would interact with the other characters. So I have to sit down and go, oh man, how do I change the motivations of the NPCs, or I leave the motivations of the NPCs the same, and you guys have to work around those motivations.
Yeah, because we're from.
You're from Barovia, yeah.
We're regular
characters
there already.
Yeah, your characters are from Barovia. You just want to run Barovia. So how are we going to balance the characters, the NPCs that want to overthrow Strahd altogether and have a free Barovia? How are they going to interact with the players that want to keep Barovia in chains? We just want to change the color of the chains. So I've actually have spent a lot of time. I've created a really very, very crude, very open-ended outline of how I want this game to go and how I want your story to be told, which I'm really excited about. It's different. This is going to be a different kind of take on the Strahd story.
It's already different for me because I've never actually played Strahd.
Right.
I played late game Strahd as an NPC.
Right. And
so
the characters consider themselves maybe they don't consider themselves evil per se. Rabble. It's more along Steph's right. Evil is just a perspective.
Yeah, we're not evil. We're just Republicans.
Yeah. Well, they're wanting to. Strahd is evil and bad, and we just want to make things right. And their version of right is the problem. So I'm excited to see how they take that perspective and apply it towards their interactions with each other and whatnot. I am going to say this. One of the things I've decided to do with you guys is all three of you are really big into the role-playing side of D&D, which I'm really excited for. You guys are more role-play heavy than other groups that I've played with.
I'm hoping we can get into a groove where we can really get into it. The hard part with other groups is you try it, but then half of the group doesn't do it, and then you kind of you lose your motivation to keep up your character, and then you just kind of go back to all right, we're just rolling dice and talking.
Here's the thing is I'm kind of going to shoehorn you guys into having to role play. We're going to be less, or I'm going to try anyway. We're going to be less dice heavy.
More on the role playing aspect.
More on the role playing aspect of it. If you come to me and say,
you're working on your accent, Steph says.
Say you want to jump.
Last time I tried an accent, somebody told me I was from Jersey Shore. So Jersey Shore, man.
So the way I'm going to approach it is, say there's this hole in the ground, and you guys need to get across the hole. If you say, okay, well, I'm going to jump over the hole. Okay, well, then make an athletics check. But if you come to me and say something along the lines of, I'm going to run across this hole. There's a branch over the hole. I'm going to grab the branch and swing across it and land superhero style. Okay, cool. Now what are you doing? And we're just we're not going to worry too much about what the dice. You're either going to accomplish it or you're not going to accomplish it, and how the dice kind of rolling dice in for checks is kind of on a spectrum. Like, okay, if the number to succeed is 10, so if you roll a 10, well, you jump over it. All right. Well, if you roll a 19, you jump, roll, duck, dive, and now you're in cover for your next combat because you did more, right? So it's just like if I'm wanting to, I'm going to be less concerned about, okay, well, let's see if they trip and fall in the hole. Nobody gives a shit. Let's keep the story moving forward. So I'm going to try at least to be less dice.
I think it'd be more fun
centric.
if we role play around the dice too.
Well, that's what I would like as well. And say,
you rolled a 4 and you're like, oh fuck, I fell on my fucking face. Oh my.
Well, that's the way it's supposed to be
I
played.
want to hide in the corner.
Yeah,
I'm embarrassed.
That's it. That's the way it's supposed to be played. So I want to.
Well, D&D is a role-playing game. You're
Right.
supposed to role play, not roll dice. It's not a roll dice game.
And I want to.
I don't want to alarm you, but there's a scary gremlin that keeps coming behind you.
Oh, I know.
You gotta watch your back.
Yeah, the gremlin's supposed to be in bed too. But that's the thing is, I want to do less storytelling and let you guys do more storytelling. So the idea of you rolling a 3 to jump over this hole, it's not my job to tell what happens. You failed and you damn near killed yourself. How did it happen?
Yeah.
So there'll be, and then the other thing too, and maybe this will be a hint for you and Steph going forward. You only have 3 people in your party. Combat's going to be questionable.
Yeah.
So
But we'll have an NPC companion.
will you
Well,
though?
Winston will be with us.
Wyndon?
What if we also don't have one, and we just all have an imaginary friend that we've agreed upon that Winston's here?
But that's the other thing too is I look at, okay, you guys are vampires. Vampires have this this story history of being very cunning and deceiving, and the last thing a vampire is going to want to do is get into a direct physical conflict with something. They're going to want to deceive it, seduce it, cause them to just or maybe not even maybe run away or whatever. That I want this to be less combat heavy and more role playing heavy. Even if we're always rolling dice, that's fine. But I want this to be like, okay, there's 7 bad guys over there. Do you guys want to fight them? Because you probably shouldn't. So what else are we going to do?
Well, and that's if we can get into the groove of it. That's more fun too.
Right.
You can have a 10-minute discussion among your characters. Yeah, okay, but I'll take the 2 on the left. What do you mean you don't like the guy? Instead of normally where, all right, you approach and you go, all right, I shoot him with my crossbow, and then you roll for it.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
And just and like I said, maybe you don't even, okay, the gate is guarded by 4 guards. Okay.
Are our characters related at all to each other?
That's up to
Are we
you
brothers
guys.
and sisters?
That's up to you guys. We'll need to flesh that out, before we get started.
I guess we can figure that out on Wednesday. We're doing a session 0 or whatever. Make sure we're ready to go. Introductions. Or,
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's going to be a session 1, but it's just like it's the introductions of who you are and all of that's going to be in there. I'm going to. I will say that to prepare your backstories and to prepare who you are, and how you're going to start.
How how do Dampiers come to be? Are they humans before and then they get turned?
Um, well, that's that it varies. You can be. You can be the child of two vampires. You can be the child of a vampire and a non-vampire.
Oh,
You,
I didn't even imagine that possibility. I was going to ask, what do you mean? I was like trying to think about how the chicken or the egg, and I was like, but where would I come from if I didn't come from being turned? I didn't even think about, well, a damn pure mother and father could
yeah,
make you.
yeah. I mean, you can create it however you want. Yeah, you may not necessarily be human. Barovia exists on its own plane. Like
Hmm.
it doesn't exist.
Maybe Stephanie was human before and got turned, and Chris and I are pure blood, and we call her mudblood.
But I will say this before we finish up because I've got to finish up for the night. Um,
Okay.
you guys are going to start out in a tavern. We will do classic D&D, and you guys are going to start out in a tavern. But the way you guys are going to start is going to be a little bit different than um
We're in the middle of a bar fight.
eh, um
Oh,
no, the big thing is if you guys have made the decision that you are going to overthrow Strahd, and
at this
you've al-
initial meeting
you've
in the
already
bar or
your
whatever.
characters will have already made this decision. That the three
Oh,
of you
so
are going.
now,
Yeah.
okay.
So now it's like, okay, here we are in the tavern. Where do we start? And that's where the story is going to begin. So
Mm, okay. I'm interested to hear Steph's accents because I've been seriously playing with a Russian accent.
well, Russian accent
It's
is
gonna
so,
be so hard to keep up
well,
though.
it's so fitting for number one. It's fitting for Barovia because all of it is very Russian themed, Western
Yeah.
Europe or Eastern European type, Transylvania, that type of stuff. Um, and then traditionally when you think about Vladimir Dracula and all that, it is
Vladimir Putin.
Vladimir Dracul. So anyway, um,
Vodka with hint
but
of
that's
blood.
yeah, but that's my cream of the week is getting excited for D&D because that's all I've done.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, no, I joined a party at. Okay. Uh, I'm looking more forward to it now than uh. It's so hard when you have 5, 6 players, and then you have 7 players, and then you have 5 players, and then you have 4 players, and then like, it's so hard to be excited from week to week when you're like, it's probably gonna be, you know, another half-ass where like 2 people aren't paying attention and like
yeah, no, no,
not even to their own fault, some of them, their situation or what they're doing, or they have other stuff going on in the background,
right,
but they want to be there with us, but they have stuff going on, so it's really hard to pay
right.
attention at the same time, and like,
Well,
it's just been unfortunate, and it's hard to be like excited when everyone has so much going on. So now with 3 of us, and I feel like most of us are okay to when we're there, we can be there and be
yeah.
present and get into the role playing.
Well,
Like,
that's excuse me. That's my expectation for you guys as players is for 2 to 3 hours, um, you're going to be fully invested in this game and your characters. So, well, this was a good comeback episode. Our
yeah,
return again for like the fourth or fifth or sixth time.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but
I think I think Kim got come on her back.
all right,
Yeah.
let's
So
let's call it a night.
yeah, so we'll see you guys Wednesday or Sunday or whatever. Who knows when? Yeah, Return of the Pigs Pod,
Oh, and that's
episode 104.
uh,
Return of the.
I am going to. Yeah, I am. We talked about maybe not streaming it first. I am going to stream it. I have redone my setup in here, and I'm going to make it work now. I've added my laptop into the mix of all the screens and stuff um that I have going. So I'm gonna stream it, and because I was like, I don't want to stream it because that's more work on me. But then I'm like, no, this is going to be a really fun story. I want to share this.
Yeah.
So that's what changed. Was like, I have to make this work. So
Okay.
all right, well,
We'll figure it out then. Oh shit. Where's Craig? All right. That's the way the cookie crumbles.
See you on.
Fuck Donald Trump. Fuck
Yeah.
Donald Trump. All right. Hey, Mike, you.
Bye, Oreo.